Well, I am confused. And in hindsight, as my buddy Ku pointed out, it's a very Higurashi move what happened. Doesn't make me any less confused. With that said, hello everybody! Welcome back to our weekly Higurashi When They Cry New, or I guess now it's GOU, meaning Karma, discussion video. Today we're going to be talking all about episode 2 and some stuff that happened surrounding the series through Funimation, as well as just word of mouth on Twitter. We got a lot to talk about this week. But if you're excited for that, make sure you hit that sub button. You're already here, hit the sub button, I'd appreciate it. We're trying to hit 25k before the end of the year. It's going to be close, but I feel like we can make it, so hit that sub button and make sure to turn that bell on. Ring that bell to let all of AniTube know you are here. Now with that said, we are gonna go ahead and dig into it, and yeah, we should probably start with the change-up, shouldn't we? So Funimation announced that it's officially changing the name. It's actually not Higurashi New, it's Higurashi GOU, meaning karma. So it's basically meant to be Higurashi karma, as in like the actions of the past coming back to haunt you. So that's kind of interesting. I'm definitely listen, I'm still enjoying it. I am intrigued, but it's not just that, right? It's not just the title change. There was also a release of a brand new key visual to coincide with episode 2. And in this visual, we see Rika, who is prominent, like front and center, but it's not just Rika, it's an older version of herself as well. And that really threw me for a loop, because now it's like, okay, I don't remember there being an older version of Rika when I watched the show, so now it really feels like a continuation. And I have a lot of mixed feelings on this, because on one hand, I absolutely respect the boldness of this decision, and again, as my buddy Ku pointed out, it very much feels like a Higurashi move, so I'm not even really upset by that. And yet, at the same time, this was tons of people's first interaction with Higurashi, and they should have known that. Like, no offense, Higurashi came out in the early 2000s. This is 2020. We are very nearly 2 decades away from the original, and I know that made a lot of you feel old. But we are very nearly 2 whole decades out from the original, right? Out from the visual novel. We are a long time away, and what Higurashi really needed right now was a remake, not a sequel. But that's what we got. And it's, again, some fans would be like, it's not a sequel. You're right, it's not. But it basically is, right? It is a retelling. As they say, it's still a retelling. They are really hammering home that it is still a retelling. But it's so clear now that there are events happening outside of the series, within the series still, but outside of the main storyline, that are very clearly going to affect the series, and you will only understand if you've seen the original series. Now, as I said last week, I saw the first few episodes. I saw the first storyline. I saw the first little arc, right? I saw that. I saw the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then 1 episode following, just to understand oh, okay, I get what's going on here. But I didn't see anything after that. I don't really know what's up with, I don't know what the mystery is. I don't know who's behind what. I don't know anything. I don't know anything outside of the phone booth situation. I don't know anything outside of that. So, you can understand my confusion when everything went down this week and when I saw this announcement. I was like, wait, what's happening? Why is there an older Rika? What the hell is going on? And again, in fairness, the new key visual looks cool. I am intrigued, right? It's oh man, you see the other characters in these glass shards, and there's Rika walking with an older version of herself. What does that mean? It's definitely intriguing, and I am curious. But now I'm more confused than I am hype or even upset. I'm just sort of confused. Ryukishi 07, the original creator, and the director Kawaguchi have both stated that there will be subtle changes to the original. And it's meant for both old fans and new. It does not seem that way, because that subtle change was about as subtle as a freight train going by right beside your bedroom window. That shit ain't subtle. Like, I was like, wait, you just... Did they just spoil the entire show? Like with that opening with Rika, I was like, wait, did that just spoil everything? And it doesn't feel subtle, and it doesn't feel like it's for new fans. And now here's the thing, though. They said new fans. So people like me, who maybe only saw a handful of episodes, or people who have never seen Higurashi at all, they said it's going to be perfectly viewable for old and new. And the old fans should watch it because there will be subtle changes, right? Again, about as subtle as a freight train, but regardless. So at this point, I'm left questioning if I should even be covering this. Because again, I only saw the first handful of episodes. I only saw the first storyline and then like a single episode of the next storyline following. I don't know what's going on. And I'm concerned now if, like, don't get me wrong, everything I saw here, I was like, cool, dope, I like it. But am I supposed to be seeing this? Is it okay for me to be seeing this? I don't know. Now, both Kawaguchi and Ryukishi07 have both given me the okay, right? They've given fans like me the okay. You can jump into this. It's for new and old. And since I fall somewhere in between, I think it should be fine, right? It doesn't feel fine. I'm very concerned. And a part of me was thinking like, well, here's what I can do. I can go out and grab the visual novel, and maybe I'll play it on stream. That might be fun. You know, play it on the Twitch stream, which reminds me, sorry, we have a Twitch channel you should check out in the description. Twitch.tv/JoJo Talks Too Much. We play games over there. And the thing is, we're going to be playing a lot of games over there in November. Because don't forget, Spider-Man comes out in November. The new Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memories comes out in November. The new Hyrule Warriors game comes out in November. And Cyberpunk comes out in November. I'm not even going to be able to play Cyberpunk right away because I'm probably going to wait on that one. And so even then, if I wait on one of them, you better believe I'm playing Miles first because spoilers. You better believe I'm playing Kingdom Hearts because spoilers. And you better believe that I could be playing Hyrule Warriors because I want to see what happened to the Guardians. And like, yeah, at some point I'm going to want to play Cyberpunk 2077 too because Keanu Reeves. You expect me to drop $45 on a visual novel I didn't even want to play? Yeah, that's kind of unlikely. Listen, man, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I think I'm just going to continue watching this. And maybe it might be refreshing for people who have seen Higurashi to hear, like, my take if a lot of it is me going, like, I don't know what's happening. A lot of Higurashi fans might feel that sort of manga fan feeling where it's like, oh, you don't understand where we're going. You're in for a trip. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that'll be refreshing and fun. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Listen, like, a part of me was debating, like, maybe I can play it over on Twitch. There's too many games coming out in November. You planned this wrong. You know what I mean? Like, if this was a subtle nudge to get me to go play the visual novel so I'd understand Higurashi new, or I guess GOU by now, it was a decent tactic if it came out earlier or in any other season, because November is stacked, my dude. And a lot of those games that I'm going to be playing are going to spill over into November because there's no shot I could even play all of them all in 1 month. So if the plan was to get me to play the visual novel, it's going to be a while. So instead, I'm just going to watch this. They said I can watch this. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to hope that it makes sense. So far, it does make sense. Even like the big reveal, like at the very beginning of the episode with Rika, it still makes sense. And let's talk about that. So is Rika like the key? Because when we open, it's like this crazy cool trippy opening where like the world is completely shattered and Rika is speaking with somebody named like Hanyu. And it's, at this point, I'm like, it is blatantly clear this is a follow-up. Because I don't know who this is. I don't know why Rika is seeing this. I don't know why she's comfortable with this. And she talks about, like, loops. So I'm like, okay, so, spoilers, yeah, there's loops. That's the thing I was dancing around. That's, like, the thing that I knew is, like, after finishing the first thing, like, after finishing the first arc, the episode after reveals it's a loop. So I was like, okay, so they straight up just revealed that there's loops. In episode 2, well, I suppose they don't really describe it as loops, right? It's more like fragments, like where does this piece go? Where does this piece go? So you're seeing like different alternate realities of what could happen in this small town. It's not loops, it's alternate realities. But still, it really sort of like spoils the big thing that happens a few episodes after episode 2 in the original. But I guess it's not too bad, because by now, if you've heard of Higurashi, you probably have been told that it, like, loops, right? So that's not a big deal. But it is interesting because now it paints Rika as the most important, when to me, I thought Keiichi was the most important. He is not. He is simply the protagonist who we are viewing the world through. It seems now to me that Rika is the most important one in the story. She's the one who seems to be like talking with this Hanyu person and is aware, like when they say like where does this shard lead to, they say June 1980 something. So it's like, wait, what? June 1980 something? Like, but we just lived through that. Well, then I'm gonna do it again and I'm gonna find us a way to win. And it's like, okay, so yeah, again, it feels like a damn sequel. And again, subtle changes. Subtle my ass. Like, ain't nothing subtle about that. But we do see now that Rika might be the key to fixing this. Because not only is she the one who sees the trippy visuals, but we see her watching over Reina and Keiichi, seemingly keeping an eye on them to make sure that everything follows the correct outcome. Right? So that's kind of interesting. As well as the whole ceremonial dance thing. I gotta say though, somebody at Passione worked their ass off on that dance. It is really good. It's not like the most fluid dance I've ever seen. Like, we've seen some fluid, like, ceremonial dances in anime, right? But the Rika, like, sort of harvest dance thing, it looked really good. And I have to give my compliments to the chef, have to give my compliments to the animator who worked on that, like, because it was legitimately really cool. And I like that they helped idiots like me who was like, what is she holding? Because Keiichi even says, like, what is she holding? And Mion's like, oh, it's like a ceremonial hoe, right? Like, it's meant for, like, harvesting. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Now, knowing what I know about Higurashi, harvesting might not exactly be crops. You know, I have a feeling harvesting might be people. But it's very interesting. We also see Tomitake talking to a certain somebody, and I'm like, I recognize that design, but I don't know why I recognize that design. I'm fairly certain she's also from the original. At this point, I'm even forgetting what happened in the original anime anyway. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel like I remember her, but I also don't. It's been a long time since I last saw the original few episodes that I saw. That said, Tomitake is still a snack. I have decided that even though the man's bone structure has changed, he is still a snack. But so is the lady he went to go see. I'm like, she also a snack. Are all the adults in this show a snack? Goddamn. But yeah, it's interesting. That's all I'll say, is it's interesting. I'm very curious as to where they're going to take Rika as a character moving forward. It's clear she's, like, connected to all this somehow. Especially that she's chosen to lead the ceremonial dance. It's like, okay, it makes a lot of sense. And even if we look at her design, and yes, my friends, since we already talked about Reina, Keiichi, and Tomitake last week, may as well talk about Rika this week. Her design is the most clear-cut, especially knowing what we know now. It's like, wow, I didn't realize how blatant it was in her design. What am I talking about? Well, when you see Rika, what do you think of? Purple, right? Because she's got the deep purple eyes, she got the light purple hair. She does have like the pink little bow tie, but for the most part, the immediate color you think of when you see her design is purple, right? What does purple represent? What have we talked about purple representing here on this channel? Mystery. Rika is at the heart of this mystery. Her design incorporates purple like you wouldn't believe. She has the most tie to this mystery. She might be at the heart of the mystery, or she might be the key to solving the mystery, but regardless, the purple in the design, to me, definitely represents that she is, like, the mystery. She is, like, at the center of this. Especially judging by that friggin' key visual. But also, it could represent maybe a theme of royalty. Not that she is royalty, but that she is important. You know, like, a royal is deemed important, chosen by fate. And if, and again, purple was typically worn by royalty, so that's why purple is so heavily associated with royalty. So it could be not only just showing her importance in terms of mystery, but also her just general importance. She is important. She is royal in terms of the narrative, right? Like, she's not actual royalty. She's just royal in terms of the narrative. She is important, chosen by fate somehow. That could be part of it. And she also went from the most, like, to me, like, one of the least interesting characters to the most interesting incredibly quickly. I liked Rika before, but yeah, this, like, skyrocketed Rika into being like, oh, sweetheart, you're gonna have a lot of shit to fix. Like, I don't know how you're gonna do this, but I'm rooting for you, Rika. I really am. And while we're here, let's talk very briefly about Mion's design and Satoko's design. Now, with Mion, I should stress that of all the characters, Mion is actually my favorite. I actually like her design the most. I find her to be the most fun. And with her design comes a lot of green, right? It's mostly light green. She has light green eyes, light green hair. Now, knowing what I know, initially I wanted to paint her in a positive light, right? Because she's my favorite. But let's be real, it's Higurashi, right? So let's actually do a dual, right? Like, we'll do dual meaning, right? So green means luck, right? Luck and restoration. It's an earthy tone meant to bring sort of restoration. When you're around a person with green in their design, typically you feel like they're gonna make you feel better, right? Think Deku from My Hero, right? Like, when you see Deku, he makes you feel nice and cozy, right? Like, he is a restorative, he brings like a restorative presence, right? Like, he makes people heal, he makes people feel better. And luck is another big one, right? You feel lucky. Think of a 4-leaf clover, right? Green has a lot of association with restoration and luck. And to an extent, I get that from Mion's design, right? She is, like, there's a sort of calming presence to her so far. But Mion as reverse, maybe also some slight jealousy, right? Like, going green with envy, right, is a phrase. So that's another element that maybe you can draw from the character, where even though she's a lucky character, even though she's a restorative character, there's maybe a jealous streak in there, maybe a mean streak in there. I feel like that's definitely part of the design as well somewhere. And yeah, again, Mion's my favorite. Like, I may have mentioned that before, but of all the characters, she's my favorite. Why? I just like her design the most. I like her design the most, and I think she's the most fun. And then there's Satoko, who I'll admit, unfortunately, is actually like my least favorite of the cast. And it's not a knock against her. It's just of the characters, she is my least favorite. And I will say the like, oh thing is funny. I like when that happens. It's sort of like the nipa. Like, it's like it's two similar sort of reactions from me. Like, where when one of them says it, I'm like, ah ha ha, funny. But that's kind of it with Satoko. Like, she has like sort of a grating personality to me. And even when you look at the design, she has these like pink eyes, which like the sort of like light pink eyes. And to me, pink often is associated with like being the youngest of the colors. So it's typically kind of immature, playful for sure, but also a bit childish. And you do get that from Satoko. And yeah, I feel like that sort of rings true. Even like her haircut is sort of like young looking, right? Like, the character herself is obviously small, she's young, so you do get that sort of like naiveness to the world, this sort of like cocky attitude in her posture as well. It's not that I dislike Satoko, I just find her the least engaging. The design is solid, though. You do understand a lot about her just by looking at her, so I will definitely give credit where it's due on that one. But that's basically all my thoughts on the remaining designs. Maybe we'll do a design time on the girl that Tomitake goes to meet during the festival. We'll see. I don't know. Leave a comment if you want that. Also, leave a comment if I should even be continuing to make these videos. I'm not super sure. I'm gonna, but I would like to hear people's thoughts on that. Because, again, the creator said it's fine, so I guess I'm just gonna roll with it. But yeah, that's all my thoughts on this week's episode. With that said, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot and share if you care. And of course, as always, I have to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names. And hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that Patreon link in the description, and the second, for just a wee bit more, is by hitting that join button next to the sub button to get a badge next to your name, and some emotes to spam in the comments and premiere chats, as well as your name at the end of these videos. And if you want to go ahead and do that, that is a big help. It's super appreciated. So if you're even thinking about it, thank you very much. So once again, a big thank you to the T Squadron. I am gonna go figure out what I should even do with these videos. Autumn anime, man, just like this season is fun. Anyway, until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and wash your dang hands.